Today we are upping the bougie level and we are talking about the highest level of rod from Raid Japan. This is the Raid Gladiator Maximum lineup. Now there are casting and spinning in this rod lineup. It's one of the nicest rod lineups in our store. I'm going to break down the entire lineup from top to bottom so that you guys know what these rods are built for, what they do well, maybe can expand your use of some amazing JDM rods. If you'd like to join in the conversation, let's have some fun. Let's do it. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah. Look at that.
That was sick.
Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday. All right, guys, some breaking news. What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful post-spawn fish.
Look at that.
Look at that gut on that. That's a nice fish.
Welcome back, my friends. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, the Tackle Otaku on Instagram, being joined by the one and only Jeffrey the King. I feel so honored to have you in my presence.
Yeah, you should feel that way, actually.
Why?
I'm amazing, just like these rods that we're going to talk about today.
Okay. You know what?
Ooh.
I agree with that.
Oh, yes.
Nothing to even say other than I'm with an amazing man, and we're talking about some amazing rods. So this is the Raid Gladiator Maximum lineup. This is a lineup of rods that I think everybody wants to know about. It is a lineup of rods that the first time I saw these in Japan years ago at Keepcast, I knew this was a rod line that needed to be in the store. People needed to fish. I wanted to fish. And it's turned out to be a really exciting lineup. Now, unlike some other lineups, it's not a super vast lineup. Each one of these rods is built for a hyper-specific use. So where some rods, like we talked about the Gladiator Antes in some previous videos, those were built to be like super multi-purpose, right? The Gladiator Maximum were built to do specific things to the maximum possibility that that rod could do it. Okay, so it's going to be really important to pay attention as I go through these rods to understand exactly what they are built for, because that's the use that you're looking to do. If you do, say, for instance, you know, lightweight free rig and Texas rig, right? There is a rod built specifically for that. So if you do a ton of that, this rod will elevate that experience for you more possibly than the rods you're using now. So let's dive through. You ready, Jeff? Now, with all Raid rods, these are all built on a 45-degree, 4-axis cross-weave carbon fiber build. So they're going to have a similar cross-weave build to, say, something like an NRX Plus, Destroyer P5, Steez, you know, Shimano, X-Pride, so on and so forth, right? So they're using that great cross-weave graphite, which allows them to be incredibly lightweight. It allows them to be incredibly strong, but also very intuitive, right? Now, unlike a lot of other crossweave graphites, the Maximum series also has some special elastomers and epoxies and different things inside that allow their rods to either bend very well or be incredibly strong. Super fast tapered. And then the way they kind of balance that is a lot of the rods, even in the casting rods, will have a solid carbon tip or a stinger tip on them. Now, we talked about this before. Stinger tips are basically, you're going to have the traditional crossweave carbon fiber going up the rod, and then at some point it's going to end, and you're going to have either a solid carbon tip or a hollow carbon tip running the rest of the way. And that carbon tip is going to give you some flexibility. It's going to give you precise cast control. It's going to give you little precise movements. It's going to give you incredible sensitivity. Usually you sacrifice strength when you go to a carbon tip. What Raid does different than most brands is traditionally your carbon tip will be only the first couple of guides or maybe add an extra guide. Raids will go several guides deeper into the rod and will blend into that crossweave so that the actual solid tip is much stronger down at the base, so you're going to get an incredibly strong rod as well. Okay, so we're going to break down this rod lineup from strongest to lightest. We're going to go casting first, then spinning, and just walk you through the whole bit. Okay, so here we go. Start right here. This is the newest rod in the lineup. This is the Raid Gladiator Maximum. This is called the Power to the Max. Okay, so they have a rod that we'll talk about in a minute called the Max, which has always been their best-selling rod. This is just elevating that power one more step. So it is a 7'1" heavy with a solid tip. Okay, so max lure rating 1 ounce, but the dudes in Japan are throwing A-rigs on this thing. They're throwing G-dashes on this thing. They're throwing Osakana slides on this thing. So they're really pushing this rod into that 2 ounce, 2.5 ounce range and not having any problems. So even though it has a stinger tip, because it's a Raid stinger tip, I wouldn't be afraid to really push this rod and give it a go. But its design is to be a very powerful, pretty straightforward jig and worm style rod. Okay, so it is going to be for pitching. It is going to be for precise casting. It is going to be for hard hitting free rig, Texas rig, jig, whether it's a swim jig, whether it's a football jig, that nice single hook. It could be a swim bait with a single hook on it. It could even be for some big strolling if you want to stroll on a casting rod. It is a fast, strong, heavy action jig and worm rod that has this beautiful, nice, soft tip at that last foot. So you're going to get cast control, you're going to get precise movements, and the rod doesn't weigh anything. So the other nice thing that that stinger tip does, it does give you a little extra bend if you were to use it for something with some treble hooks, like any of those baits that we talked about, and it lets you keep it very, very short. These rods weigh virtually nothing. A lot like a lot of the Megabass rods, with this rod, your hand is going to be on metal. So metal obviously transmits vibration the fastest of any material. So you're combining that solid carbon tip with the metal. It's amazing. As far as cosmetics go on these rods, each rod has a custom built Raid reel seat. These reel seats are incredibly comfortable. So they have a very nice curb feel to them. They're a little bit shorter trigger than a traditional, say, Loomis rod. So they're very comfortable in the hand. There's no pinching or poking. And it's just the right thickness, right? I don't like my rods to be too thick, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
I also don't like them to feel like there's nothing there, right? So it's kind of like the perfect, I would say, medium ground, ergonomic, comfortable. And then this lockdown piece is a combination of metal and EVA. So it's very, very comfortable when your finger's sitting on that EVA. There's no, grooves or anything for your hand to sit in. Just a really nice, beautiful rod, okay? So there you go. Power to the max. There's number one. All right, dropping down one step is the Maximum the Max. So this has been their best seller in the lineup for ages. It's basically your straightforward 7 foot. It's still considered a heavy, but I'm gonna say it's more of a medium heavy plus. It does have a solid tip. Lure rating 1/8 to 1/2 ounce. Okay, so this rod is built for 1/2 ounce plastics. That's what you want to throw on this rod. So this could be things like 1/2 ounce jig with a trailer, free rig with a 3/8 ounce weight in a bait, or a 1/2 ounce weight in a bait, sleeper crawl, something that's in that true kind of 1/2 ounce world. Could be a 1/2 ounce spinner bait, something like that. That's what this rod was built for. So if you want a hyper specific rod for throwing 1/2 ounce jig and worm style stuff, this rod's unbelievable. Again, it's going to be a fast action. It's going to have that solid carbon tip at the top, so you get a lighter action. It's basically like one full power below the first rod that we looked at. Okay, so where the first rod's going to be better for like that 1/2 to 1.25 ounce, this one is a dedicated 1/2 ounce rod. This rod is unbelievable. Okay, so there you go. All the same cosmetics, same reel seat, same great lockdown, same metal, beautiful rod. That is the Max. Okay, dropping one step lighter in power is the Baltoro Heat 2. Okay, so now we're seeing our first true reaction bait rod come into the lineup here. Okay, so this is a 7 foot 2 inch. It's a medium heavy plus. Okay, max lure rate on this is 1 1/4 ounce. I see these guys get pushed all the time, 1.5 ounces, 2 ounce. So large wake bait, crawlers, small glide baits, big crankbait, big square bill. That's what this rod was built for. It's going to have a more parabolic bend to it. So I consider this to be very similar to, say, something like a Mad Bull in the P5. It's a very similar rod for me. Some guys still use it as a soft plastic rod, but it's really not what it was built for. It's not what it's going to shine at. It's going to shine as a powerful reaction bait rod. Chatterbaits, crankbaits, you know, shallow reaction stuff in that 1/2 to 1 ounce, like the full size reaction stuff, right? So this isn't something I'm going to take and throw a small little square bill on. This is something I'm going to throw a man-sized square bill on, right? So a 2.0, a 2.5, a Diabuzzin, you know, a Blitz Max, something like that. That's where this is really going to shine. So it's going to give you all the bend you need for castability and power, and to keep the fish pinned. It's a great rod. You'll notice that you're going to have a little bit different styling down here. It is a ferruled grip. You're going to have less metal because sensitivity now is not as important as it was before. So they're really giving the nod more to the performance of the rod versus the sensitivity. So there you go, the Baltoro Heat 2. That is the next one, super sick rod. And you'll notice also that it's a full grip. So gone is that split grip. Again, they know that most of this is going to be kind of active casting, so you know, most guys, like when they're just running a bank and they're just casting and winding all day, like to have that kind of nice full grip. So there you go. All right, kind of a really cool one. This next one is called the Bishop. Now this rod reminds me a lot of like the Tachyon shaft in the P5 lineup. Okay, so the Bishop is a 6'7". It's a medium heavy with a solid tip, max lure rating 1/2 ounce. This rod was designed to be a super hard hitting, close contact, put stuff in cover and yank them out 3/8 to 1/2 ounce. That's what this rod wants to do. So this could be a weightless Senko. This could be a free rig. This could be a Jika rig, a Texas rig, some type of jig and worm style fishing. It could be a backglide style bait, right? Any of that stuff where it's close range, accurate, and you need a heavy hitting, sensitive, fast rod, that's this rod. So you can see it's very fast, very powerful through the main section. And then you're gonna have that nice, beautiful little tip on there. So that tip's gonna give you the sensitivity, it's gonna give you the accuracy. I should point out too that all the other components on this rod, we didn't even talk about guides, but all these guides are running Fuji Torzite. So, you know, the highest end components all across these rods. So again, they weigh nothing, they're beautifully crafted, but this is a very, very fun one. If you guys are shore fishing, if you guys are dock skippers, if you guys are doing anything in close combat where you need to skip a jig up underneath dock and hammer them home, this will give you the perfect action you need while still giving you that little light tip to help with your skipping and your casting. It's a rod that actually most Americans should destroy with this rod because it really fits our style of fishing probably better than even over in Japan because we do so much close range power fishing here from a boat and from shore. So there you go, the Bishop, that one is next. All right, and finally in the casting lineup is the Max Light. Okay, so this is an interesting one. This is kind of a fun one. This is a 6'5" medium light plus. Okay, so this guy also has the stinger tip for lure rating. It's max 3/8 ounce. This was designed for 1/4 to 3/8 ounce soft baits. Okay, it's built so that if you wanted to put a little bait finesse reel on here and just chuck little Neko rigs or light wackies, maybe flick shakes, it can do that. If you want to put a full-size reel like a Steve CT or, you know, Aldebaran or something like that, then you could throw a heavier line on it, larger stuff. But 1/4 to 3/8 ounce, that's where this is going to live. If you're pushing 3/8 ounce, bump up to the max. If you're going to go to 1/2 ounce or something like that. But again, it's a medium light, but don't let that confuse you. It's got lots of strength, but you're going to get that really nice, beautiful, delicate stinger tip at the top end. So your castability and your usability is really, really nice on this. But again, it is a soft plastics rod, really specifically built for that weight range. So if that's you, it could be a really fun rod. All right, jumping over to spinning. This is, if you guys follow Raid Japan at all, if you follow Kanamori, who's probably one of the more, I would say, I hate to use the word famous, but really he's probably the most famous kind of, you know, brand guys in Japan. This is the rod that he pretty much lives on as his strolling rod, okay? And this is the Max Queen, okay? So this is a 6'4". Technically, it is a light, but it has a solid tip. Max lure rating, 1/4 ounce. I've definitely seen this rod pushed much more than a 1/4 ounce. It's a beautiful rod for any soft plastic type bait. I'm going to say more, you know, drop shot, Neko rig, and then any kind of strolling style. It's got this beautiful stinger tip on it that's light and thin and delicate, so any little finesse movements are great. Again, if you're using a 1/4 ounce weight and a plastic, this rod is money, okay? If you're going much bigger than a 1/4 ounce, you're probably going to want to bump to a different rod. Now, there is a heavier version of this coming later this year that will give you a great option for, you know, 3/8 and 1/2 ounce, but for now you probably want to jump over to like the Navigator or something in the Gladiator anti-line if you need to go heavier. But, or jump over to a Windbuster in the P5. That would be a great, you know, crossover rod. But if you're throwing a lot of 1/4 ounce, which a lot of us do, that's kind of like probably the main finesse size, this rod is built for that. So that could be a 1/4 ounce ball head with a bait. It could be a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight with a worm. It could be anything in that range, but it's just, think of 1/4 ounce, think of the Max Queen's kind of what it was built for. Beautiful, beautiful stick. I don't know if I did I pick it out? It's 6'4". I don't know if I mentioned it. Light stinger tip. All right. Okay, next one in the lineup is the Max Fixer. Now this is a 6'1", technically an ultralight, but I'm going to show this to you. It's a solid tip, 3/16 ounce is the target lure rating for this guy. So very similar styling. You can see when you think ultralight, a lot of times you think like this, like trout rod, right? That's not what this rod is. This is, you can see it's got just a little give, but it's really all about this light little stinger tip up here. So if you guys are throwing 3/16 ounce weights, so 3/16 ounce ball head with a bait, 3/16 ounce drop shot weight with a worm, so on and so forth, this rod is beautiful. So really delicate, really nice, but it lives and exists for that weight, okay? So I would say maybe 1/8 to 3/16. If you push 3/16, I would go to the Max Queen and think of the Max Queen as your true 1/4 ounce, okay? So there you go. There's kind of the 1-2 punch in the lineup. But there's 2 more spins, and these are very, very unique. I'm excited to show them to you. All right, so I'm going to combine these two together, Jeff, because they're kind of the same rod. They're kind of built the same way and with the same ideas in mind. These are the Gladiator Maxim Solid Max, okay? Now, there's 2 versions to this. There is a light and an ultralight, okay? So Solid Max, actually, I was wrong. There's an ultralight and an extra light. Okay, I said light and ultralight, but I meant ultralight and extra light, which is even lighter than ultralight.
Okay.
Okay. Solid Max. You've heard us talk about the solid carbon tip at the end of most of these rods today, right? This is the first spinning rod where the entire blank is a solid carbon tip. So no crossweave graphite in this, and then ending at a tip, the entire blank is a solid carbon blank. Okay, so even though you're hearing things like ultralight and extra light, this rod is very powerful and it's incredibly sensitive. Probably one of the most sensitive rods maybe ever produced because it's just a solid carbon rod. Okay, what are you going to use this rod for? Well, if you're Jeff, what are you going to use the rod for?
I was thinking about throwing like an Osakana slide on it.
Okay. You know, I serve it up to you all the time and you foul.
Or maybe a one-way.
Okay, that's better.
A weightless one-way, or, you know, 2-way, like some super light.
Weightless, light plastics, tiny, tiny little finessey, wacky rigs. something like an OSP dice rubber, a one-way, a little two-way, any of that smaller plastic stuff will throw amazing on this. You're gonna get sensitivity even when you're making little subtle movements with the bait. You're gonna feel the bait moving through the water. Of course, you're gonna feel the thunk when the fish picks it up, and you're gonna have the power, but the agility to still be able to fight fish on 3-pound line, 4-pound line, whatever you're gonna do, okay? So you can see, even though it's solid, still got a beautiful bend, and you got that really nice light tip there at the top. A really cool lineup of rods. I'm gonna spec it out. So which one do I have in my hand? The extra light, 5'9", max 3/16. Okay, so still pretty decently powerful because of the solid carbon blank. The ultralight is 5'9", max 1/4. Okay, so even though they're built to throw the really light stuff, you can still add, you know, a light drop shot weight. Maybe you're throwing that little scooper frog with the little 3.5 gram drop shot weight. That would be super dope on here. Maybe a little finesse jig would be super dope on here. So lots of cool options. A very, very cool rod if you guys are into, you know, a smaller spinning rod. There you go. There is the Solid Max. All right, that is a wrap. There is the entire lineup of Raid Gladiator Maximum rods. If you guys have any questions or if I missed something, Jeff, you have a question.
I do have a question.
Okay, hit me.
What's with the orange little tippy things on those last ones?
This is so that you can actually see what you're doing. So, this is a kind of a crossover, okay? It's two things. It is a crossover from the Bait Finesse stream world.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of times when rods are this short and this delicate, being precise on your cast is important. If you have a 7-foot rod and you have a bunch of bend back there, your timing doesn't always have to be perfect, right? You can cast back, that rod can kind of bend, and then you can just kind of come forward wherever you want. You've got so much rod to kind of whip it through. We've shrunk this down to 5'9", so things are gonna happen quick, right? So if you're a visual caster and you're casting kind of cross body, you can watch those guides, and the second it's bent back, you can fling forward, right? So it's a visual caster for that. The other thing it is it's a visual caster for you not hitting it into trees, not banging it around if you're a shore guy, right? And you're trying to walk through, because it's all solid carbon, it's all kind of this dark gray and it's pretty thin, you don't want to be smashing this into things. So it's really just a visual pickup thing. Okay. Any other questions,
I thought
class?
It was something cool like it's gold or Cheetos or something.
It's Cheeto wrapping.
Cheeto wrapping.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that's better
That's
answer?
what I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff, for elevating this video
As
once
always,
again.
Steve.
Okay. If any of you have any real questions,
Yeah, please comment down
drop
below.
it down below. I'm happy to get answers for you. I think I covered them all well, but if I missed anything or if I didn't cover something deep enough, I'd love to help you guys out. And you guys know the reason I put my Instagram handle in the beginning of these videos is if you ever want to deep dive through any rod questions, I geek out on this stuff. So feel free to shoot me a DM anytime. We can talk about rods, compare this to that, or this brand to that brand, or whatever it is you want to do. Make sure we get the right rod in your hands. So on behalf of myself and Jeff and everybody here at the Hook Up Tackle Guys, thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. Thank you for checking out the Raid Gladiator Maximum lineup of rods, and we will see you soon on the next video. Peace out. Later.